Hello, this is Dr. Don, and I'd like to show you a little bit about the review progress screen that you have available in the online game. Review progress screen can be found on the red tab, which is at the top of the main rainbow navigation. After students start playing, the review progress screen will be the default when you open your account and go to your admin. First column in the review progress screen is the username. Remember, we do not retain personally identifiable information, so only the username will be there. You can use the blue slider to see other columns. Slide yourself to the right in the display. Username is frozen in place, so it will always remain there as you slide to look at other data. You, however, can also hide columns. So in this top area, it shows the titles of the columns. And if you want to hide a column, you uncheck it. And so you see that start overs, parts past, and parts past today are hidden because they're unchecked. And if you want to show a column, you check it. The default is all of them are open. Shown, but then it's a pretty big file, a pretty big screen, and you can't see everything. The other thing you can do is to click arrows at the top of these columns to sort by that particular data, and you can sort either up or down. If the data is sorted by that column, you'll see a stack, the blue arrow pointing to the little stack. This stack shows that it's sorted from the least to the most, and you can click it again and it will sort it in the other direction. So you might want to sort your data. You want to find, say, the hardest working student, or the student who's having the most difficulty, or what student has not logged in recently, so who's the oldest login. So that data will be, sorting those will be very helpful to you. The second column is the teacher. This is useful in accounts with multiple teachers when the owner is looking at it. But if you're the only teacher in your account, I would uncheck teacher up in that list to hide that, since you don't need to see your own name again. Third column is the learning track. There's 16 to choose from. You probably start all your students in the same place and you think this is not necessary, but after a while, students will be all in different learning tracks, and you're going to want to know who's having issues with what. The fourth column is the last login, so the most recent login date for each student. So you can use this to find out who's not logging on and doing any work. Fifth column is the results of the latest 1-minute race. This is a relatively new feature. This measures fluency, measures that they're presented with minutes worth of problems from throughout that learning track. So it includes ones they haven't learned yet, but it measures their fluency. It measures the number they answered correctly out of the number that they attempt to answer. So you see this first student here answered 17 out of 19, so made 2 errors. This other student also made 2 errors, but only got to 13, and the bottom student got 23 out of 24. That, by the way, is a pretty fluent student, probably not needing to do much more of this. The 1-minute races are always scheduled by the system after they complete set A, so when they first know what they're doing, then after I, then after set R, and then finally set Z at the end. You can also assign these on their next login. And what you'll see in this column here is the latest, the last time that they did a 1-minute race. So it kind of tells you how they're progressing and if they're looking strong or not. And there's a lot more information available elsewhere, but in this review progress, just the latest one. Okay, the next column is the number of start overs. So the student has 3 hesitations or 3 mistakes within a phase. They have to start that phase over. And we expect at least one start over per phase passed. But this column shows the total number that they've done. So just shows how often they're having to start over. The next column is the difficulty score. And here we figure out what does that mean, the number of start overs. So we divide the number of start overs by the number of phases or parts passed. And if they have more than 3, a difficulty score of more than 3, it's pretty hard for them. You might want to consider giving them more time or seeing what else might be a difficult thing. If a student comes to you and complains and said, oh, this is too hard for me, look at their difficulty score. And if it is 1.0 or less, you know it's easy. They're just not used to having to start anything over. So this difficulty score is very helpful in assessing complaints about how hard it is. Number 8 is PP, parts passed. And that's the total that have been passed so far in this learning track. There's 78 total in the whole learning track. So, they're progressing along. You can see how far they've gotten. So this first student has passed 70 parts. That brings them up to a level X. Right? Every 3 parts passed moves them up 1 letter. Parts passed today lets you know if there's some recent progress. They have to pass a part or a level, they have to go through the universe phase. So takeoff, orbit, and universe is passed, and then they get a green box that shows that they're done. They could pass 1 or 2 levels and not pass a universe, and you'd see data in parts passed today, but nothing, maybe not a green box. Number 10 is a little mini calendar. And this shows which days in the last 2 weeks they had sessions and how many sessions they had. So you see, if there's a letter, that means they didn't have a session. So in this first pair, you see the bottom student has an F for Friday, and that means they didn't do any sessions on Friday. But the student above them, up here, completed 7 sessions in 1 day, which is incredible. They must have been home all day and getting on to Rocket Math a lot. Over here, you see, again, a student that has S for Sunday did not do any sessions, but the one above them happened to do 3 sessions that day. So this lets you know what days students worked and when they were. The 11th column shows the total number of sessions in the last 2 weeks, not total for the year, but just in the last 2 weeks. And so this shows you who's really working hard. So I would definitely use this as the best way to motivate. If you hold up, put their names on the board, give a shout out to them or whatever, the students that are doing the most sessions in the last 2 weeks, that's going to encourage other students to do more sessions so that they could get recognized too. The next column is a pretty obvious one, their current level. This is the level that they're working on. So you see that the second student here is working on their current level is C. They've passed A and B, and now they're working on C. So it tells you which one they're working on. Students are always proud of their level. Anytime I've ever been introduced to students who are doing Rocket Math and they find out who I am, they come up and tell me, I'm on set G, I'm on K. So they're very proud of their level. They know it means that they're learning. The graph here is just a visual way of showing all the sets that they've completed on their way to Z. Their goldenrod when they're done. When they've just finished that day, they've passed the level, you'll see it's green. So that's most recent achievements. But this graph shows what they've completed on the way to Z. That is the data in the review progress screen. You can also export data if you want to have it a permanent record of it or use it to talk with parents or so on. To do that, you select the students, go to your dashboard, select the students that you want the data on, and then go to bulk actions, and you can choose to export progress, which will export the information we were just going over, or you can export a learning track summary, which will show since the student began using Rocket Math, what they've completed. That's it for reviewing progress. It gives you a lot of information.